Okay, may I have your attention, please? It's 5:30. Time to call this special call board meeting June 4th and workshop to order. This meeting has been duly posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. Madam Secretary, do we have a quorum?
Mr. Contreras? Mr. Contreras?
He's out of time.
Ms. Guanajuato Webb? Present. Ms. Haynes? Come on down. Mr. Mesa?
Here.
Mr. Overfelt?
Present.
Mr. Smith? And Ms. Gonzalez? Here.
Thank you. Do we have a quorum?
Yes, sir.
We do have a quorum. And just for the record, we did have notice that Mr. Ken Smith and Mr. Contreras had prior commitments, work commitments, and so they were not able to be here today. At this time, would we take a moment of silence and have a personal reflection, and then after that, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We're going straight into item 11 on the agenda. We have business and finance. First item that we have is under 11 is A, consideration and approval of the resolution authorizing the issuance of San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District Maintenance Tax Notes, Series 2018, entering into a bond purchase agreement and a paying agent registrar agreement and other matters related thereto. Mr. David Gonzalez and Dan Martinez.
Good afternoon, Mr. Board President, members of the board. For the record, my name is David Gonzalez with Estado Hinojosa. With me is Dan Martinez, who serves as the district's bond counsel. If you all look there next to your packet, I left a PowerPoint presentation for everybody. As you all remember, we were here in April, I believe, and we were showing all sorts of different scenarios to the school board, to the committees, for these improvement projects, these energy savings projects. We had scenarios that we shared with the board on several different occasions. Well, this morning we actually went into the market and we priced those maintenance tax notes, and today the presentation is the results. So if there's any questions as I begin this presentation, if there's any questions, just stop me and I'll be happy to answer anything y'all have. If you jump to page number 1, if you notice interest rates, as we've said in the past, we know that interest rates are going to continue to rise. The Federal Reserve is met, and this year they're looking at 3 to 4 more rate increases, with 4 increases in 2019. So as you can see on the far right of this graph, it reflects where interest rates are headed. If you jump over to the next page, here we have the issuer, San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated ISD. We have your financial advisor, your bond counsel, your underwriters counsel, the rating agency that rates your credit, and you have your paying agents. If you turn over to the next page, here we have sources and uses and statistics. This gives you a summary of what happened this morning. We entered the market, we pre-priced on Thursday and on Friday to get an idea of where rates were going to be on Monday. So last week rates were pretty favorable. We went to the market today at 9 in the morning, and by 9:30 we had sold all the paper. Everything was sold by 9:30, and as a matter of fact, the notes were actually oversubscribed, meaning that there were more people that wanted bonds than were actually available, so you were able to generate premium that way, which works in your favor, and I'll explain that here shortly. But if you start on that quadrant on the top left, the sources, you have the par amount, $16,420,000. The reason it's 16 million and not 18 and a half is because you're able to generate premium. And what I mean by that is, since so many people want your bonds, you have leverage over the investors to say, well, you have to pay up if you want these bonds. So they have to pay you more than what the bond's actually worth. And you were able to generate in premium $2 million, basically, $1,966,821, and you only had to finance $16,420,000. But if you jump down to uses, the premium covers the project fund, cost of issuance, and underwriter's discount. So you basically got, I wouldn't say they gave you $2 million, but they overpaid for your bonds $2 million, and you're able to transfer that money and use it elsewhere. So instead of financing all the 18 and a half, you have 16.4, and you're still able to do your projects. If you go to the right, the column on the right, statistics, the interest rates today were 3.55%. That was with a AA3 underlying rating, which is a very, very high. You have AA3, AA2, and then AAA. So you're very close to the best rating that you could possibly get. The term of this loan is about 19 and a half years. The final maturity, the final payment, is on August 15, 2037. The average annual debt service and savings is $1,344,576. The total principal and interest over the life of the loan, you're looking at $25,546,949. And then you have a call date of 8/15/2028, which means on that day or 90 days before that, you can refinance this. If interest rates are lower in the market and you can take advantage of rates, you'll be able to on 8/15/2028. Are there any questions on this page? No? If you
I do have one.
Yes,
David,
sir.
originally, when you came to us, I know that you proposed an interest rate.
Yes, that's a very good point. We were looking at 4%. So we were looking at 4%. We actually came in at 3.55, which is about 45 basis points, which is pretty significant when you're talking about 16.2 million.
Okay.
Yes, sir. If you jump to the next page, this gives you a schedule. It just breaks down on an annual basis your principal and your interest and your total on a 3.55% interest rate. If you jump over to page number 4, here you have an underlying rating, as I said. The school district received a AA3 about 2 years ago, and it's maintained the AA3. Moody's reaffirmed it, and as I said, it's one of the highest ratings that you can get. We went to 3 different bond insurance companies to get bids on this loan, and because the school district had such a high rating, you didn't even need to purchase bond insurance because your rating is higher than the bond insurance company's rating. So that says a lot. Typically, you always have to purchase insurance, but for the school district, it didn't make any sense. If you jump over to page number 5, here we have the timetable of events. So we were here on the 16th of April. The staff and ourselves and the attorneys had rating calls and due diligence calls the week of the 14th. If you jump one under that, on June the 4th, we're here today. Should the board approve this loan and we move forward, Dan Martinez, ourselves, and a host of other people will begin working on the documents with the Attorney General's office, and we should be closing on June the 28th. And on June the 28th is the day that the district receives all the money so that you can begin work on your projects. So that's the closing date that we're shooting for, should the board decide today to move forward. If you jump over to the next page, I'm not going to waste too much time on this, but this is just an analysis from Moody's rating agency, and it gives you a very, very detailed breakdown from an analyst standpoint, how they rate the school district, what they see as positives, what they see as negatives, what they think, well, if you want to move up to a AA2, this is what you need to do, or if you get downgraded, these would be the reasons why you get downgraded. But it's a very detailed report that I'm not going to get into everything, but, and if you turn the tab on page 1, that's just for your reference. Those are the final numbers. It has pretty much everything from bond pricing paid, debt service schedules, arbitrage, and a whole host of other items that I'm not going to bore you with. But with that, that's all I have. If y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer anything y'all have at this point.
Thank you, sir. Any questions? Yes, sir. Dr. Rios, I know we have one new board member here. Is there any way you could give just an update as to what this money will be utilized for?
Yes, sir. I asked our chief financial officer to visit personally with the 2 new board members and catch them up. However, for the benefit of the public, the $18 million will be used to finance the ESCO contract that we have with Schneider Electric. Schneider Electric will come in and do extensive repairs to all of the lighting in the district, replace it with energy efficient lighting. They will do extensive work with the HVAC systems, particularly at the high school, and we'll touch on most of the other campuses. There will be some controls for water, but at the end of the day, the repairs made and the improvement made with the $18 million will generate enough savings to pay the cost of the loan throughout the life of the loan, and then provide additional revenue for the district, or additional revenue beyond the life of the loan.
Appreciate that. So I know that I had questions, and I came to meet with Dr. Rios because I know we originally had the resolution, and we had 2 prior meetings before, and so this is, the explanation is we're locking in the rate today.
Yes, we priced this morning. We got a 3.55%. Should the board decide to move forward today, we'll officially lock in the rate and actually sell the bonds.
Okay.
Yes.
So again, I ask any questions because this is an extensive project, but it will pay for itself in the life of the loan, and will save us an enormous amount of money in regard to replacing regular bulbs with LEDs and of course ACs, especially at the high school. Okay, the recommendation.
I'll read the recommendation. I'll just get it right here. President Mesa, members of the board, it's a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve a resolution authorizing the issuance of the San Felipe Del Rio Consolidated Independent School District Maintenance Tax Notes, Series 2018, entering into a bond purchase agreement and a paying agent register agreement and other matters related thereto.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Mr. Overfeld, seconded by Ms. Webb. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all very much, and congratulations on the rate.
Thank you. Thank you for doing your work. Item 11B, consideration to approve the commitment of fund balance and budget amendment to the general fund in the amount of $600,000 and purchase order over $25,000 with Field Turf USA Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $562,212 for artificial turf for entire infield of the track at Del Rio Middle School. Mr. Hinga and Mr. Elsa.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. This project, we brought it to the board last month, and we actually put it out for bid on April 18th. We went out to, or we sent the requirements for the project out to 4 different companies. We did have 2 responses. One was from Field Turf USA, and the other one was from Hellas. The specs within this project were to be a turnkey replacement of the entire infield of the track at Del Rio Middle School with artificial turf, correct any elevation issues and drainage, include football and soccer lines, no logos in the end zone or midfield, and to provide 3 references, as well as it was mandatory to have an on-site visit. And those were the 2 companies that we actually received bids from. The difference between the 2 bids totaled $232,628. And at this point, we're looking at the Field Turf USA as our solution for this project. Their total amount came to $562,212, and Hellas came to $787,383.
Okay, discussion from the board. Yes, Ms. Webb?
At our last meeting, President Mesa made reference to the fact that we were going to look at the budget prior to making a decision on the turf. And I know we haven't met regarding the budgets yet. So how do we stand as far as increases, staff salaries? How does the budget stand? Those are the questions I have.
Sure. At the last board meeting, we did receive questions from the board of trustees, and I committed to providing an update to the board in terms of what the income or the tax dollars generated and the state aid generated this coming year, and how that would compare with the commitments that we had presented to the board in terms of recommendations for a salary increase. And I made the presentation via the update that the new income, particularly that income generated by the windmill farms, would offset increases to salaries and additional positions, recommending a 1.8% increase across the board. I also provided for the board information that indicated that the healthcare cost had not increased, had not materialized, had been particularly recommended by the previous consultant. As a matter of fact, I think there was only 10% of those increases had come to light. Therefore, we expect the fund balance, even in the healthcare fund. We do not believe that we will have to use any fund balance money for the operations of the school year, and all new costs will be covered by the increased revenue. Particularly the additional costs in personnel that we were recommending for the coming year were cost increases to adding security at the elementary campuses. So when we consider the 1.8 salary increase across the board, additional costs for personnel, security personnel at every elementary campus, as well as other positions, it would be covered. That was shared in the board update. I don't know if that answers a question or if there are more specific questions by the board.
I had certain questions. When I mentioned, for example, the removing or adjusting the salary cap, we still need to look at that. And so that's something new that we have not finalized any numbers. The other thing is when you receive questions from the public, it's an excess amount. I personally feel we have other priorities that stand out. I for one, I think it's high time that we have our students, graduating students, air-conditioned gymnasium, auditorium. It's not the money to do that, but I think we need to start talking about it, that perhaps it's time to save money and make it a goal to have indoor graduation instead of outdoor. But my biggest question is, if we do adjust the salary cap, and perhaps change it to 35 years instead of 27 years. I have not seen any numbers, where we stand in regard to that. And the information that I get from the public is that it is an exuberant amount of money for a middle school. We have our high school, yes, we have artificial turf, but yet middle school is not looked at a high school, that artificial turf is already there. We're proceeding now to the middle school. It is a large amount, and I think there are other priorities that stand in the way. That's my perception on it.
Mr. Mesa, we'll abide by the wishes of the board. I want Yanakani to just affirm if we were to remove the salary cap, if the board directs administration to remove the salary cap, if we consider the money that was saved over the last 2 years that the salary cap was in place, I'll ask Yanakani to verify this, but I think that we're talking about just a little bit north of $60,000. Yanakani, do I remember that correctly, or am I way off?
Excuse me. Good evening. That is correct, sir. I did send you some information today from TASB. If we were to change our teacher salary schedule to 35 years, as discussed at the last board meeting. If you'd like, I can show it to you. I can walk up
No,
and show.
I
Okay.
just need you to.
But yes, that is correct.
Okay, so I'll include that information in the board update. And I agree with the sentiments that the $500,000 is a lot of money. However, in the plan that was proposed to the board, we clearly indicated how the savings generated over the next 10 years, particularly with the improvements that we have to make to the current field and the maintenance, it would again, now granted, this is over 10 years, we would end up spending the same amount of money and have a safer field that would sustain additional wear and tear. And by the additional wear and tear, we're talking about making Del Rio Middle School the field for our Pee Wee football. We're talking about hopefully returning soccer tournaments to Del Rio where they could use both the field at Del Rio High School and the middle school field. But our particular concern is the additional wear and tear by opening that field up to the community, because without the turf, that will generate a lot more upkeep over the next coming years. And unfortunately, the field at North Heights, one is even more deteriorated. The scoreboard there doesn't work, and it's really a playground area for that elementary school. We're concerned about the amount of money also, and we certainly know that the public would be concerned about it, but it really is at no cost over the next 10 years, and a much safer field, and allows us to share it with the community in ways that won't require additional upkeep. That's why we're making such a difficult recommendation, but we will respect the wishes of the board. We just think it's in the best interest of the district to move in this direction. It's certainly not for a luxury, because we did go with a lower cost turf. We didn't take the other quote.
And I appreciate all the work that has been done prior to this, because I know I did see the information related to after 10 years, it pretty much pays for itself. I know, Ms. Gonzalez?
I'm just concerned about the high price too. What was it that you mentioned about pumps and to maintain the grass and all that? And don't we have that contractor doing it already, maintaining the grounds?
No, ma'am. We maintain our football fields. The fields were not part of the lease or the contract
Little Acre?
with Little Acre. So to bring the field up to par, not only do we have to bring in more soil and resod it, we have to add a sprinkler system, a better sprinkler system that would maintain it. But to get enough water to the field, we also have to provide a pump. That's one of the reasons that the field has not been able to maintain itself over the life of the field, because it never did get enough water.
Why didn't they have the pump to begin with?
Well, I'd have to go back to when the field was originally built, but I'm sure it was one of those value engineered reductions to bring that bigger project into budget.
So what was the cost, do you remember?
I'd have to ask Yanakani to pull up the update that we
Because
gave you.
that was in the last report, not on this one.
Right, and the previous report, the board update that I sent to the board probably 2-3 weeks ago includes that. I'll have Yanakani look at it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion?
I just have one other
Ms.
question.
Ward?
That, in regarding to the turf, what are the restrictions on using the turf? I know there's restrictions at the high school turf, but we can't use it for Relay for Life because they can't put tents out there, where in the past we used to when we had the grass. So we're talking about letting community use it, so what's the restrictions?
Well, this time also, they didn't use it at Delaware Middle School. That's kind of
Right.
went to Civic Center because of the
So
condition
are
of the
there
track.
restrictions about using either, I don't know, that's why I'm asking.
Yes, ma'am. There are some restrictions, and if I fall short on the explanation, Coach Smith, feel free to stand up and correct. But we can't have people driving spikes through the field to pitch tents. That really hasn't been an issue, because even when they did the Relay for Life, there's enough places around there to pitch tents. The big concern for Del Rio Middle School was how far the parking area was from the field, and difficult it is to get up there. If we have celebrations out there, much like graduation, wearing, and I don't know the particular name, but I think they're stilettos is what they're called, when ladies wear them because they drive into the field. But short of that, it takes the wear and tear from the spikes, so that they can use that. We're just talking about deeper pointer objects that we probably wouldn't allow on a field, even if it was grass.
Thank you, sir.
Anyone else? Judge? Nim? Nothing?
If I may, Mr.
Sure.
Mesa, I wanted to reply to the question posed by board member. Okay, the natural turf, if we were to replace it, Multi-Camp gave us a quote of $250,000 to upgrade the field with natural grass. The 10-year maintenance cost on it, water, seeding, aeration, everything that just goes with it, over 10 years, it's about $340,000. And the water pump is approximately $30,000. Now, granted, this quote of $620,000 assumes that there are no additional investment required in sod and any type of replacement, and that the cost of personnel and the cost of fertilizer stays constant, which we know that over 10 years, it's bound to go up. But I didn't want to include the cost on here because I don't want to share information that I don't know for sure. I don't know how much fertilizer is going to increase. I don't know how much personnel costs are going to increase. So I kept the conservative amount of $620,000. The artificial turf, we know for sure that it's a fixed price of $562,212, and we know that the maintenance cost on it is just a 10-year maintenance cost of $50,000. That's if they have to come in and put more pellets on it to keep it smooth. And obviously there would be no water pump. So it's a $637,000, 212 cost. So it's a difference of $17,000. And it's a much safer field that will sustain the wear and tear of additional uses like the Pee Wee Football League and having soccer tournaments on there, or even having the varsity and the JV play at the same time for out-of-town teams that would come in. Did you see this, man?
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Okay, so we're ready for the recommendation? Okay, recommendation from administration.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the commitment of fund balance and budget amendment to the general fund in the amount of $600,000 and purchase order over $25,000 with Field Turf USA Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $562,212.
Okay, you've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Mr. Overfeld, is there a second? Amy? All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Against? Motion fails.
Thank you.
Okay, the time is 6 p.m. It is now time to go into closed session. We are going into closed session pursuant to chapter 551.071, 551.072, 551.073, 551.074, 551.076, 551.082, 551.084, and 551.087 of the Texas Government Code of the Texas Open Meetings Act. No action will be taken in closed session. We're now in closed session. The time is 6:45. We now reconvene into open session. No action was taken in executive session. We're now on item 15 rather. First item is A, consideration to approve the personnel report to include the following: new hires, district vacancies, retirements, and resignations. Aide Garcia.
Good evening, President Mesa, Dr. Rios, members of the board. It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the following new hires: Joe Frank Ramirez, aircraft instructor at CTE; Juan Hernandez, trades and industry HVAC instructor at CTE; Melinda Sue Flores, special education teacher at Del Rio High School; and Jorge Pineda, college and career readiness at Del Rio Middle School.
You've heard the recommendation. Is there a motion for approval? Ms. Webb, seconded by Ms. Haynes. All those in favor, please indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you.
Go ahead.
It is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the following new hires for assistant principal: Allison Mercier, assistant principal at Del Rio High School; Cynthia Sagun, assistant principal, also at Del Rio High School.
You've heard the recommendation from the administration. Is there a motion for approval? Mr. Overfeld, seconded by Ms. Gonzalez. All those in favor indicate by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you.
So much. We're now to number 17. There being no other action, no other items on the agenda, I'll call for a motion to adjourn. Mr. Overfeld, seconded by Amy Haynes. All those in favor? Motion carries. Thank you all. Good night.